We're a mobile society. It's the very DNA of the way in which we are emerging into the future. I think if we look at mobility historically and we see those science fiction films, and if I think back to my youth, the science fiction of my youth is the reality of today. So what we can imagine now is likely to be the future. This project has many dimensions. First of all, it's the Biennale. So it's an opportunity to explore, to experiment. And with Porsche and shared endeavors about innovation, sustainability, the opportunity to explore mobility, and Venice, of course, unique in terms of its water infrastructure, to suggest ways of using Venice perhaps as a case study for anticipating the future.
Being a designer of a sports car brand, I was surprised. The language, in certain ways, the softness, for me was so much Porsche as it was Norman Foster. Overall, for me, the interesting thing was to discuss with Norman about mobility and his views on mobility, especially since Norman and the Norman Foster Foundation is so much into developing cities and how mobility could work there.
Together with Porsche, we curated and created a structure which is kinetic. It responds to nature. At another level, it's a demonstration that you can do something sculptural, really exciting, with the lowest cost materials. Literally tubes of aluminium that can be bolted together, something that's demountable, reusable, but the engineering is very sophisticated.
I have been really touched when I saw it for the first time in person. When we had our meetings here, our exchange, there were the model, there were sketches, there were technical drawings. But again, whenever you experience a full-size physical model, it creates completely different emotions.
As the water moves, the structure is organic and it literally responds to those changes. At the same time, if the temperature increases to the point of being uncomfortable, then as you walk along that passageway with the element of surprise at the end where you see the lagoon, then a mist will reduce the temperature by some 5 degrees. If the wind is strong, it will blow through, and it will acoustically, as the scales, the external padding will open and allow the wind to move through. So in that sense, it's very organic.
I really hope that continuing this discussion, cooperation, whatever it is, will inspire us and maybe as well inspire Norman.
The future collaboration will be more about mobility itself. It will be a fusion of two directions, one much more in the civic domain, the other much more in terms of the individual vehicle and what will happen to the vehicle when we break down the traditional barriers between specialists.